Okay, I think we're live now. Well, this is an interesting day, and I have a few things I wanted to talk about. Let me just begin with my normal informational message I send to the Discord to let them know I am online. Stream started. Sorry, I need to automate this, but I don't have an easy way to send a text message into the Discord from Ecamm Live. Like it can navigate me through my Stream Deck. It can navigate me to a channel, which is fine, but it will not send a message. So I kind of want to automate a message that says, hey, I'm ready. My stream is live here. Let's see, live now and on camera. Let's see if I got that. Oops. Okay. Hey, a single rainbow Skittle. It's glad you're joining us. Glad you're joining us. Okay, let's just give it some time, a few minutes to breathe. Let people join in if they are going to come. In the meanwhile, I'm going to bring up my notes, and I'll just do a quick run through and prepare myself for what I wanted to talk about. Let's see. I wasn't planning on streaming today, but just some interesting things came up. First of all, I wanted to just do a quick recap of some of the tablet news that we've been seeing. Because in the last week or so, we've suddenly been told there are 3 new tablets. One just was announced today, I think. So we'll talk about that. That tablet was the Wacom One 14. I'm not actually planning to get that tablet. So we're going to take a look at the specs and we'll do a little bit of analysis based on the previous models and what you can expect. Okay? The second thing is I have some news about, believe it or not, Microsoft Paint. Okay, you're here for the Wacom One 14, so we will definitely talk about it, and so feel free to ask questions. I took a look at the specs, so I'm kind of prepared to talk about it. Let's see. I wanted to, someone. Okay, let me back up. Everyone knows what UDEMR is, right? That's the S Pen, the Wacom One pens. Those use a form of EMR technology called UDEMR, or Wacom Feel. And I wanted to tell you I'm trying to investigate the IAF of those pens. And I just want to show you my raw data, okay? And I'll tell you how I collected it and the challenges I have. I'm not good at IAF testing, honestly. And it raises more questions, actually, the data I found. But I need to, hey, Hera, good to see you as always. Yeah, we can, Arfdale, yes, absolutely, we can do that. Absolutely, we can do that. Happy to test Bluetooth latency. Now, in my personal experience, I didn't see any real difference, but we can try it out and I can test it again for real. So a single rainbow, you're the Wacom One fanboy. Okay. Someone else asked me to do, okay, so, I rely on Cube's measurements for IAF. I rely on what manufacturers publish. Someone suggested I just get and try the pens and just tell you what it felt like. Even though I'm not good at measuring, just say what it felt like subjectively. And we were agreed. This is someone from Reddit, and I said I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to give you a subjective measurement. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about, believe it, iPhone. I'll talk about that, the new iPhone. MacOS 26, which is a good public service announcement. We definitely need to talk about that probably first. RFW, yeah, I think it's a good beginner tablet, but the important part about that is the pen, and that's the critical topic. And that's actually one of the critical topics we'll be going deep on in this session. I worry a lot about the blobbing in the Wacom 14 pen. It blobbed in the video. Blobbing, I did notice in a couple of times I saw a little blob appear. Now you have to remember, that can be due, I hadn't seen that before actually. So that could have been, I think I was testing my app when I was doing it. It could have been me, meaning my code. It could have been just something weird with the nib or that specific pen. So we gotta try it again. It could have been the drive, who knows, right? But I am curious about it because I don't recall seeing that ever before, the blobbiness. I should be clear when I say blobbiness. There were sudden bursts of blobs, and then there's weird pressure issues. And I'm talking about a sudden sounds so weird when I say it, a one blob burst, right? Hera says, where I find IAF to differ the most is when I try to navigate buttons and they don't work unless I press harder. You mean like you're pressing buttons in the user interface, Hera? I think that's what you mean. Okay, so we have people. Let's just start with the most important, well, one of the most critical things you need to know about right now. Okay, if you are running macOS, you may want to delay upgrading to the new macOS 26, right? What we are seeing is various people are having problems with the Wacom driver on macOS. Now there is, someone told me on Reddit there's a new Wacom driver that's just been released. We'll take a look and see if that's the case. That should address these issues. We might even encounter the issues. I upgraded 2 of my Macs to the new macOS 26. So far I haven't tried other tablets beyond Wacom. So you might just want to wait until people have had a chance to experience things, okay? You saw that in 2 different videos? Okay, good. Sometimes you tap so hard on icons Clip Studio because it won't detect. Yeah, that's where we get IAF gives a problem. It's like you don't register a click, right? So I just want to show the Reddit thread that on our Wacom so everyone just sees it and you can visually sort of understand what I am getting at. Let me clean up a little bit of my screen here. Hopefully this works. Let's close this window. Okay, here we go, Reddit. And where is that? I've been sort of just busy doing social stuff in the last, and just being occupied with silly stuff the past few days. So I'm behind on answering questions. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring up the thread. Right, Nick, it's never happened before. It's never happened before. I try to upgrade before everyone just so I know what's gonna happen. And this time even I was caught. So let's see if I can share my screen somehow. Let's see if it works. I don't know if it's actually gonna work. Let's see. Can you see it? No, it's not showing the right screen. Hang on. I've got to change it around a little bit. Give me a second. Let me move these things over. Close window. I've got 3 monitors in front of me and it's still complicated for me to like arrange all the things I need to manage for these streams. By the way, how's the volume on the music? I just want to make sure it's not too loud. Sometimes I end up accidentally making it much louder than I intended. Okay, here we are. Let's see, I want these 2. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I published, because I'm one of the mods on our Wacom, so I just published, I put a mega thread up there, and basically several people on the Discord, in the subreddit, have been reporting problems. Pen not working, Wacom Center not launching, all sorts of weird problems, right? I have encountered it myself, okay? So my advice to people, no, it's not, the sky is not falling. My advice is just wait until we have a greater sense how things are developing. Now, a couple of people have commented, and I just want to show you what the comments were. So they also mentioned that if you use Autodesk or AutoCAD or Maya, they're having problems on macOS. So it's not just the Wacom driver. And I believe someone pointed out that Wacom put up this page, right? Now this was updated 9 hours ago, so they said the current driver they're linking to it. Let's just take a look. Oh, they do actually have a note here. Let me increase the size of this briefly. There is a current known issue with macOS 26. Once the tablet is installed, some of the settings windows will not system settings windows will not work when using the pen. That's not exactly the problem I've had, and other people have drawing problems. You will need to move your mouse trackpad to interact with these windows. It has been reported to Apple, so it looks like that issue is ongoing. And they say that for macOS 26, the device must be supported by the 6.4.11 driver or more recent. Okay, so I'm just going to check what I have, and or actually take a look what the most recent one was from Wacom. So they just released one 2 days ago. So basically on the day that macOS 26 was live. Music is good? Okay, thank you. How do you manage between switching monitors when working with a pen? Shortcut in Wacom driver for switching active display. Yeah, the display toggle. Right, Nick, you have you tried using it before? I don't normally. I just map honestly my tablet to just one monitor and just keep it there. And I know it's weird. I have to switch the mouse to touch the other monitor. I just don't use display toggle that often, though sometimes I do it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just try it. I'm just going ahead and try it. And confirm download. But even if this works, I would say people should give a little bit of time, okay? Okay, I'm gonna go download it. I'll switch back to my normal face. And, oh, I downloaded the Windows version for Mac. That was silly. So 6.4.11-1 for both cases. Confirm download. Okay, and let's just kick it off there. I'll install it. I'm just installing it to make it more clear what I'm doing. I'm going to just show you. So I just downloaded it. I clicked on the DMG file, and it's just, I'm just clicking, continue through all these things. Okay. Install software. And we'll test it out. Less than a minute. Okay, let's take a look at the chats. So RFDL, you tried it. I don't. Okay, Nick, you don't use display toggle. Okay, so you use your tablet like I use my tablet. I just statically map to one screen. I do put references on the other thing, but I just never need to move my pen over there. Okay. It turns out I probably need a Wacom tablet to just try this out. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna go get one. Okay, I am back. I have the Intuos Pro 2025 small. And let's just try it out. And what am I connecting this to? I need to connect this to... Let's see. I may need to get another cable. Oh no, I can use this one. Perfect. I'll disconnect this. Okay, perfect. I just put my keyboard to wireless, Bluetooth, and now I'll try the tablet. I'll plug it in, and we'll see if anything weird happens. Okay, so let's go to, you know, my testing app. So that's, and let me just launch the driver as well. Let's just make sure that part works. Wacom Center. So this is macOS 26. Let's go ahead and just try that. There's a report. Something flashed real quick. Where's macOS? Where's that darn Wacom Center? Oh, it launched on another window. Let's see if I can... I can't move it over, which is funny. Okay, now I can move it over. Okay, so I just did a normal sort of like registration thing, where it says, here's how to set up your new tablet. But the driver, this works. I mean, on my other machine, this would not launch. It will just say there's some sort of problem. And then let's just verify that the other Wacom UI, which is called, what is it called again? It's in settings. So let's just get there. And what is it called? It's just Wacom, right? Yeah, Wacom tablet. Okay, so this seems to be functioning, right? And where's my pen now? Oh, it fell. Okay, and let's just see if it works. Let me close one of these. I'll move the Wacom Center out of the way. And where's the mouse? The mouse is in the wrong place. Let me undo that change. Okay. I need to change the mapping to go to the right place. Map to one display, and I need this, I guess, display 3. That should be it. Okay, can I draw correctly? Yeah. I'm taking a look at the numbers as well. And everything looks fine, actually. Pressure seems to work, tilt's working fine. There's no barrel rotation for this pen, Pro Pen 3, that's fine. And it feels nice to draw, so nothing weird, okay? I know the strokes may not look like they're high quality. That's due to my rendering code, that's not due to the pen. That's just the way, because this app is not a painting app, it's to test things, okay? So don't pay too much attention to any weirdness you see about the steps and stuff. That's me, okay? Okay, so I think I can say that works. The new driver works. So I'll update the PSA on Reddit and on Twitter to just let people know, try the new driver. But still, I'd encourage people in general, if you want a smooth experience, wait a week before you upgrade, okay? Nick, I haven't heard any rumors about XP Pen updating the Magic Drawing Pad. If you can link to it, I'd love to see. I had not heard that. Albert, I did not get a Wacom One 14. I'm not planning to, but we are going to talk about it. In fact, why don't we just move to that topic right now? So just a quick recap. There are 3 new drawing tablets that are either we know about or have just been released. In the last 2 weeks, we've heard about the XP Pen Artist 16 Ultra. 16 inches, has touch, 4K. I think it probably still has the X3 Pro pen. Probably going to be a pretty good tablet. Then we found out about a upcoming Huion 4K pen display, and I guess it's going to be a Pro pen display, meaning traditionally that would mean better color support. It doesn't have a name yet. I suppose it's going to be a Huion Canvas Pro something, and it's probably going to use PenTech 4.0, which means the PW600 pen. So that's something we should all look forward to. I think I will get that. And now, just today, we found out about the Wacom One 14, which was a surprise. We had heard or seen some evidence from FCC information that said it was coming. Surprising, though. We'll talk why. Let me get the link to it. And let's see. Let's go to Wacom. Hopefully search will do its thing. Yeah, here we go. Let's just take a look at the specs and just talk about what's going on. And where did chat go? I'm not planning on getting this tablet because, and you'll see as we talk about it. Well, you'll see actually, okay? But basically, I'm not going to learn anything from this tablet. The question is, should you get the tablet, right? And there are some changes that you need to be aware of. So let's just take a look at the specs and just talk about what's going on. So what do they emphasize here? Of course, it's 14 inches. They say it's a slimmer bezel, and I think that's fine. I know there was a lot of tension about the Intuos Pro 2025 having thinner bezels, but I think for displays, most people are okay with this size having smaller bezels. This is all normal stuff. Anti-glare, anti-fingerprint, direct bonding. Let me just translate all these. Anti-glare means etched glass. Anti-fingerprint. Now, later on, you'll see they describe it as glass. And that's important because we have to talk about the Wacom Moving 13. And direct bonding means laminated. Okay? And that theoretically should reduce parallax. So easy to connect, single cable connection. So just basic stuff. Let's go through it in a little bit more detail. So the resolution is only 1920 by 1080. Okay? And I think 19 by 1080 is probably okay for 13 inch, maybe 14 inch. So definitely this resolution puts it in a consumer space. Okay. IPS. So the Wacom One. Remember, this is the next in the series from the Wacom One 12 and the Wacom One 13. Now they say the surface is again anti-glare and anti-fingerprint glass. Okay. Now this is actually important. There's a subtle detail here. If you remember me talking about the Moving 13, it has etched glass or glass, but on top of it is an anti-fingerprint coating. And what a lot of people report is that you can scratch the surface of the Moving 13 pretty easily. I've done that. And I think it's not the glass we're scratching, it's that coating. Now, so I'm always caution people to take care of the Moving 13 screen. But this says it's anti-fingerprint glass, okay? Which should be better for us. And I'll see if I can confirm that by asking Wacom. Direct bonding is lamination. 8-bit color, so pretty normal consumer specs. Contrast ratio 1000. Brightness 285 nits. Response time is only 16 milliseconds. Or that's a high number for a monitor. But we don't generally need low response times in pen displays. sRGB 98%, so pretty typical stuff, nothing crazy. Number of side switches from the pen is what they're talking about. So that's again good. We generally do want 2 buttons on the pen. Oh, I missed this part. The Wacom One standard pen is the CP923, which is not a pen I like, by the way. Pressure levels 4096. Again, don't pay attention to this. This has more than enough pressure levels for everybody, okay? So don't worry that's not 8,000. Don't worry that's not 16,000. This is fine. Pen resolution, with most tablets you'll see this number be like 5280. 5280 is lines per inch are the same as 200 lines per millimeter. So this is 100 lines per millimeter. We don't need to worry about that either. It's absolutely not going to make a difference in the world. Supports tilt, normal 60 degrees, nothing special there. Normal EMR, no touch. Now this is interesting because the next smallest model is the Wacom One 13 touch. And that does support, obviously, touch. This does not, which came as a little bit of a surprise. I thought the bigger one would support touch as well. Okay, so now let's see. What's included? Let's just take a quick look. You get a pen, which is good. You get the USB Type-C cable, which is good. You remember when you get these pen displays, make sure your USB-C ports actually work. And make sure you know how to connect. So you have to connect to an HDMI port. You're going to need to buy something else, right? Meaning, I think this is the thing you need to buy, the Wacom converter, so you can connect HDMI into this. Okay. Okay. So, what's my takeaway in this? Let's take a look at the price actually. So let's click here. Oh, there's some comments here. It was just some guy saying that in 2 months they plan to release updated version. Probably just fake news. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, not that I have secret information. I literally haven't seen anything like that. I don't expect them to make a Wacom 14 touch. I just feel like, and the reason for that's simple, like it would just add more confusion to their consumer line of pen displays, right? Ain't Cappin says, I'm waiting for my Intuos Pro Large 2025. Sold my previous generation Cintiq 16. Back problems, so I had to move to a screenless tablet. Yeah, I'm the same way. It strains me a lot to use a pen display. Yeah, they're not going to add the Pro Pen 3. That's guaranteed. That is guaranteed, and it's not listed as compatible either. Let's actually, since you did ask that, let's just take a look again. What are the? Do they have compatible pens here? Now, they mentioned the Wacom One standard pen, 923, but it's a UDMR pen. So the Samsung S Pen should work. The old CP913 pen will work. Lots of UD, like Statler Norris Digital will work, which is normal. They just don't seem to mention it here, but they should all work because they're all UDMR pens. Now, they will generally not allow the Pro Pen to work on these models. Okay, so the price of this was probably the most interesting thing I saw. It's $300, which is a surprise. I'll show you why. Let's go to let's take a look at the Wacom One 12. Okay, so they reduced the price from $300 to $220 basically, and then let's take a look at the Wacom One 13. Wacom One 13 Touch. There's only the Touch. So this went from $600 to $500. So do you see the weird asymmetry here? The pattern isn't working quite right. The 12-inch is 200 something, 220. The 13, which has Touch, is $500, and that's at a discount, by the way, and it's out of stock. And who knows how long the discount will last. The 14, which is the largest and doesn't have touch, is less expensive, quite a bit. This is $500 and the 14 is $300. There's a $200 difference. And it's unusual. Usually the ones that get bigger cost more. I certainly didn't expect this to cost $200 less, okay? So, and the only difference we can really see is touch. So that's unusual. That is highly unusual. I'm not complaining about it. It's just surprising. I think a lot of us are surprised that Wacom released a tablet that's this affordable, okay? And you can see that this would be targeted to be competitive against things like the, one of my current top recommendations, the Huion Canvas 13 Gen 3, which costs roughly just a little bit less than this, okay? Now, should you get this versus the Gen 3? Well, everything about this tablet seems fine, but we got to talk about the pen. If I, later this year, when I get toward the holiday season, I'm going to have a video that tells you what I've learned in the past few years about drawing tablets. And one of the 10 things or so that I've learned is there's lots of specs and features and behaviors of the tablet which we have to take into account, of course. But a lot of the drawing experience, especially as it relates to pressure, are elements of the pen, right? Certainly there are things about the experience that the pressure experience that the tablet provides, but a lot of these topics are really due to the pen. So much so that let's just suppose you have a tablet that has a certain pen, and you think you want a lower IAF, okay? And there's a new tablet that has the same pen. You shouldn't upgrade, because if it's the same pen, you're more statistically likely to just get the same experience you already have. The tablet may be better in other ways, but the pressure experience is really due to the pen. So I was never happy with the CP923 pen, and we're going to talk about why. I'll show you numbers, and we'll explain why. And it's a little bit of a weird topic. It's not necessarily the most fun topic, but I got to show you what I've actually measured, and you'll see why this is worth talking about. Okay, let me just take a look at the... I am waiting for my Intuos Pro large... Okay, sorry. After getting my moving pad 11, I'm seriously considering selling my moving 13. I just don't reach for it much anymore, which is interesting. On the Discord, I think a bunch of us have movings and moving pads, and a lot of people really liking the moving pad. In fact, more than we expected to, I think. And we're really using it, I think, the way Wacom intended, which is like for drawing, not as a general purpose Android tablet. Ain Capping says, I'm hoping for a moving 16. Yes, I absolutely am hoping for that. I bet Huion and AxiPen cooking some OLED display tablets. I certainly hope so. RF deal, yes, it is very good to see that Wacom is becoming more self-aware in their tablet pricing. Okay, so let's just talk, a few more comments here. Moving 16 would be much better. Yeah, I agree. Xiaogi says, oops, where's the comment here? Wacom's entry-level tablets will probably never beat other brands if they don't add Pro Pen support. And that's the dilemma. They just sort of they segment their consumer and Pro tablets, okay? Lately, their Pro tablets will work with consumer pens. But the consumer pen experience is never as good as with the Pro tablets, okay? Just never. And the reason, especially if you care about IAF and maximum pressure, we will clearly talk about this topic in the stream. I will show you very specifically what the issues are, okay? Okay, so the a little bit of history here. The Wacom One tablets, they started in 2019 with the Wacom One 2019 edition, which is the DTC133. We got to be careful about the model numbers, right? And it came with a pen called the Wacom One pen, model number CP913. And then in 2023, we got a whole bunch of new Wacom One tablets, 4 total, 2 pen displays, 2 pen tablets. And they came up with a new pen, CP923, what Wacom calls the Wacom One standard pen. And I wasn't happy with the pen tablets. They have some weird pressure wobble. They've improved it with some firmware, but I don't think it's where it needs to be. The CP913 pen is a UDMR pen, just like the CP913. However, in practice, what I found is that the CP923 seems to have a higher IAF than the 913. And even if that's not important to you, it's much higher IAF than the Pro Pen 3 and the Pro Pen 2 and lots of other, even the pen that comes with the One by Wacom tablets, okay? A Cube measures them at less than 1 gram force. Even if you don't measure them as carefully as Cube does, you can feel the difference. You can absolutely feel the difference. And the difference is, I think it'll irritate some of you, and some of you will be like, okay. With the CP923 pen especially, you will be able to detect that you're moving the pen on the glass, but nothing's happening. You're not drawing, right? The pen is moving, the pointer is moving, but you'll notice nothing's happening until you reach a certain pressure threshold, okay? Some people are driven crazy by that. Some people can tolerate it, like they're irritated, but they can tolerate it. And some people may not notice. If you're going to get this pen, if you're going to get this tablet, which has the CP923 pen, probably if you're used to the One by Wacom, which is also a consumer tablet, or you're used to a Pro Pen 3, you're going to notice that higher IAF. You're going to notice it because it will not behave like the pen that you already have. If you bought this pen for someone who had no experience with the drawing tablet, they may not notice. They might be able to tell you they're having to press harder than they think they need to, but they don't have a frame of reference. A lot of us have a frame of reference, and some of us now have some numbers we can talk about. I will show you the numbers, okay? Let's see, NCAP, is the new Wacom driver update buggy in macOS? It looks like the very latest driver, which was released just 2 days ago, will work. I just installed it and it seems to work. But any of the ones before that seem to have problems. I would still recommend people just give it a week or so before you try macOS, because there are issues actually that aren't even fixed by the latest driver. Okay, so would I recommend this tablet? Again, if you already have experience with some of Wacom's tablets, then I think, let's say, especially if you use like a One by Wacom or an Intuos Pro, and this was going to be your first pen display, I would not recommend doing that, because you will find the difference will be disturbing. That's my bet. I'm very highly confident in that. If this is like a present for someone who's never had a tablet and never had used an iPad, because iPads have their Apple Pencil has really low IAF also. People think it's about less than 1 gram force also. And that's the thing here, when you'll be using these other devices and you'll compare it to this and you'll notice the difference. Okay, $300 is an attractive price, but the pen experience, it's just got high IAF. Not only that, these UDEMR pens, they don't have a high maximum pressure, and it'll make it too easy for you to hit 100% pressure, and you'll be irritated at the strokes. So it's a double whammy with these pens. Okay, high IAF, low maximum pressure, and it doesn't feel great when you draw. If you're going to get this tablet, assuming you're not going to be irritated by the IAF, it would be probably good if you were a teacher and you were doing like whiteboarding in a Zoom call or some kind of thing like that. Maybe if you were digital signatures, or if you're marking up PDF, it probably would work fine for that. I'm not sure about note-taking, because I feel like you would be irritated to press harder for all your notes. I don't think you need, you'd notice it compared to, let's say, pen or pencil. But there are some things this is probably good for, and it's a good price point for things. And of course, Wacom still, I'm totally confident of it, is still the most, they're still the most reliable, okay? And I still think they have the best support. So it's not that I would or wouldn't recommend it. I think you have to know what you're getting into. For some people, this might be an okay choice. But if you already have experience with a low IAF pen, and one that has high max pressure, this is probably not something you're going to be happy with, okay? And the other problem is you can't upgrade the pen experience. It's only compatible with these UDEMR pens. Let's see. Hera is replying to InCap. I'm tempted to replace my Moving 13 with Huion Kimba 16 Gen 3, but the wheels and no touch controls. Yeah, if you're used to touch, it might be irritating to switch away from that. Okay, we're going to get into the new pen. And I'm going to show you some data, because I love showing data. So give me a minute as I bring my data. Now this is going to be, this is when we get into tablet scientist mode, I guess. So you have to bear with me about this. Let me bring up my files here. Oh, where is it? This is all publicly available, by the way. But you can think of this as early data, okay? Early data. So, where is it? Yeah. There's this Excel spreadsheet I have called UDEMR pressure analysis. Okay. So, here it is. I'm going to move it over here and we're going to talk about it. Probably I need to increase the size here. Okay, so let me just give you an explanation of what you're seeing. I'm sorry, this is like the most boring thing in the entire world. I made a video trying out several UD-EMR pens, I think 2 weeks ago. And here are all the pens I tried, actually. Look, I drew with them. And I felt certain ways about the pens. I felt, oh, this has higher IAF and this has lower IAF, just subjectively. And then I wanted to do some measurements, okay? And I am not good at measuring IAF. I'm still learning my craft there, okay? Sometimes it seems like I'm good with certain pens and not good with other pens. Let me tell you what I found, okay? And then we can talk about what it means. So, first of all, I have, 17 different UD-EMR pens, okay? And this second column is an inventory column. And that has, it's not a Wacom number, it's a number I assign so I can track the pens over time, okay? If you see my pens, they actually have a little, you see a little white piece of tape there, there's a number written, that's the inventory number. Because I have over 100 pens, I need to keep track. Okay, and the next is, so in this test, I wasn't measuring a whole bunch of different pressures. I was just trying to find the minimum and the maximum, okay? So let me tell you how I did that. So measuring the minimum and measuring the maximum, in practice, you kind of measure them with different philosophies, okay? It's actually very easy to measure maximum pressure. It's very easy. Minimum pressure is very difficult because it's very sensitive, okay? With minimum pressure, and if there's, and you don't want to have a lot of variance. With minimum pressure, you've seen photos of my testing apparatus, and I put the pen on this little thing on the tablet, and it's on like a lever, and I move weight so that only a light amount of pressure is there. And you'll notice things like the pressure will stick, meaning it shows 0, but obviously it's loaded with weight. And I think that's because of friction with the nib inside the pen. So every time I measure, I sort of tap the pen to sort of like scientifically jiggle the material, the instrument, and I take measurements. So for the minimum measurement, notice I didn't say IAF. I didn't make that claim. These are the numbers I was I was reliably able to find these numbers as the minimum measured pressure. Theoretically, these should be the IAF. Okay. So what do you see first of all? Okay, and this is gram force. Remember, typical gram force is 3. Pro Pen 2, Pro Pen 3 have a gram IAF of less than 1 gram force according to Cube. Okay? One more thing, you have to measure these vertically. That's when the pen is most sensitive to pressure. If you're drawing like this, it's actually a little less sensitive, right? And I've never quantified that. Okay, so what did we see? Oh, sorry. For each pen, I took 10 measurements, okay? And sometimes, obviously, the measurements were totally screwed up, right? Like I was putting 50 gram force weight on it, but it would show up as 0. So I discarded those crazy numbers, okay? And then I usually got somewhere between 10, maybe 7 to 12 measurements, okay? And all I did was I calculated the median. The median is the 50th percentile. That means the number that would be between, half the numbers are above and half the numbers are below. It's not the same as average. It's the median, okay? And that's how these numbers were calculated. And what do you notice? These are all clearly above 3 gram force, okay? Now, but there's lots of variation. Now, the variation could be due to me, it could be due to my equipment, but what I generally found here is, I'm just gonna highlight this cell and see if Excel will tell me the average. I guess it doesn't, yeah. The average across all UD-EMR pens, right, if average is a valid statistical thing to calculate here, was about 6 gram force, okay? Pro Pen 2, Pro Pen 3, less than 1 gram force. A normal EMR pen would have 3 gram force, okay? The new Huion PW600 has 2 gram force, it's Huion states. So we see a lot of variance here, and we see that it's high, right? Like some of these are, one of these measured close, I mean very good actually, 2.3, but some of these measured high, okay? And this was measured with this is another important fact. which makes this even more interesting. I believe that the IAF is higher with these pens on a Wacom device, a Wacom pen tablet or Wacom pen display, but lower on an Android device or a Samsung Galaxy Book, which is what I tested this with. So these numbers are lower than what you'd experience, I think, than with the Wacom One 14, 13, or 12. Okay? And these are already high. Do you see why I am hesitant to recommend, using these pens and tablets that use these pens? So let's take a look. The Wacom One 14 comes with this pen, the CP923. Now, the numbers I measured, again, I am not claiming these are the IAF, but these are the lowest I could reliably measure, okay? 5.1, 4.4, 5.9. Okay, so the average of that is something like 5. Surprise, surprise, I looked at the CP913, which I've always thought had slightly lower IF. I actually found that in my measurements on this day, the number came out higher. Can you see this? The other numbers are 5, 4, and 5. This is like 8, 6, and 6. So, this really had caused me to re-examine my soul here. Like, what's going on? I've always thought this. So again, maybe I'm just totally wrong, but these are the numbers I found. And I'm gonna have to redo these tests, right? Because what I want to see is that I can reliably get the same number over and over, something close to it, right? But this is what I found. Okay. Now, another surprise to me. I have always said that the CP913 felt better to draw with than the S Pen, as if it had lower IAF. What do my measurements say? Again, this is my initial numbers, right? The S Pens were within the 6 to 5. But my CP913s were in 8 to 6. So again, another just complete, had to rethink my soul to see these numbers, right? Because, and I had to ask myself, why does it feel like the CP913, which I recommend all the time, seems to have lower IAF than the S Pen? The only theory I can come with right now, honestly, is, and this is just a theory, please don't take this as like, here's the truth, is that the S Pen has a rubber tip, and because you can feel the friction of the rubber tip, that gets wrapped into my brain as pressure. And the CP913 does not have a rubber tip, so I don't feel any friction until I'm pressing harder. So I gotta just, again, I need to measure these more and study these more, okay? This is just the beginning of a journey to understand what's going on. I need to reliably get, maybe in the next few weeks I'll do it again. I'll see what numbers I get, okay? Let's take a look. In capping, if the other brands gets the right recipe for how smooth Wacom pens are, I'm sure Wacom will panic. Wacom pens are top tier with the other, they are catching up. They are catching up. This is going to be a problem. And I don't know how this is like Avengers Endgame. Like the non-Wacom brands are collecting the Infinity Stones, and we're going to have a real problem in the consumer space, right? Something has to give. Something has to give. I'm hoping how this gets resolved is that we get consumer pens that are a 3-gram force, which would be good enough. Okay? They don't need to get to be Pro Pen 2 quality, Pro Pen 3 quality. Just give us a reliable 3-gram force, maybe 2.5. We'll call that a day, and I'd have an easy time recommending all the consumer tablets from Wacom, right? Okay, so that was the minimum force that I measured, okay? So I hope that made sense. Hera, that's a good tip. I hadn't thought about that. Let me put that in my notes, actually. Swap the S Pen and CP9. Okay, good. Good question. Maybe nibs will make a difference. By the way, I got to tell you, it is really painful to do these measurements. I hate doing them. It's not hard. There's a lot of fine tuning that has to get done. Okay, let me write that note down from Hera. Test with the S Pen nibs. Or let me make sure I understood. Swapping, yeah, okay, yeah, test with. Sorry, let me write this down in my notes here. Swap CP913 and S Pen. Oops. Yeah, we'll try that. Okay, now that was the minimum pressure I measured. Okay, remember, minimum pressure is really delicate work. It is not easy. And I'm going to try different ways of measuring too. I've got one crazy scheme where I'm going to build like a, where I'm going to hold the pen upside down to make sure it's more vertical, and then lower the tablet onto the pen, and maybe I'll get more reliable readings that way. Just an idea. Okay, now let's talk about maximum measurements. So what do you notice here? These are all over the darn place. Okay, but let's just take an average real quick. Average 232. And that's kind of in the okay range. Now some are really low. This S Pen, 137, okay? This S Pen is like 300, right? Some of them, this is 120 here, 100 for this one. This one had a low IAF and low maximum pressure, or lower IAF and lower maximum pressure. And these, surprisingly, were in the 200s to 250s, a couple of 300s in here. And 300s actually, 350 is like in the good range. Okay, so these are just right, one of these touched the good range actually. And this is one of the reasons I do feel that the CP913 is better still than the S Pen. Even if you disregard the IAF topic, they have generally higher maximum pressure. Generally, right? What overall I find is these UD-EMR pens vary a lot in their maximum pressure and their IAF. So they're not consistent, okay? And I'm going to show you that in just a minute with my special tool, but I need to get it from GitHub. So give me a second. And let me find it. How the heck do I clone something? I want to clone a repository on GitHub. It's called pressure response view. I think that's it. Okay. There we go. GitHub. Yes, select that. This should work. Clone it. There we go. Okay. Give me a second. Let me get the tool up. And you're going to see exactly what I mean. Now, this was data I recorded earlier, so it's talking about the pressure response. It's not good for IAF, but you'll sort of see the pen behavior. It'll be much more visually obvious why I say the things I do about the pens, but only for maximum pressure and the overall response. What's the pressure visualizer? Let's see. Oops, that was a license file. I want this thing. Okay. So, I vibe coded this last weekend using Grok. It's so fun now to build my own tools with AI. Okay, now I need to get to the data. Okay, so let's start. Again, don't pay attention to the IAF in these graphs because these were done like 2 years ago, and I don't trust the lowest numbers here, but you'll get an overall sense of what's going on. Okay, so let's go take a look at the S Pen, the Samsung S Pen. So these are 3 S Pens. Now notice, again, don't pay attention to this part because things are weird here. Oh, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I hope so. Let me make sure. Yeah, you are seeing. Okay. What do you see? I mean, there's a mess here, so ignore that. Focus on this thing. Notice where the pressures end. They end up in the okay range, but one of these is really not that good. Okay? And then we'll actually compare our data in a minute. Oh, and there's the S Pen Creator Edition. So let's drag it in here as well. so we can compare. So you see, S Pen Creator Edition really not much better. Okay. Now I calculate these maximum numbers. I think are pretty good. So what we're going to do is, I'm actually going to copy those max. So these are what let me color this in, well, blue, and I'll color this in green. And green means these are the numbers I got 2 years ago. Okay. Because remember, I keep the inventory numbers, so we'll see how off they are. Okay. So let's see. SAP 002 was, our maximum was 279. Right? Already we see like there's a little bit of variance. Again, I was very young when I was measuring this. 003 was, oh sorry, I had that wrong. This was 279. And this one was 238. Okay, that made me feel a little bit better because the numbers are closer. 001, where is it here? Was, I measured it 2 years ago as 162. Okay, so what are you seeing? A little bit of like, there's some variance, right? But they're not crazy different. I'm not saying which is right, but we'll see. And S Pen Creator was 004. And I measured that at 186 basically. I'm leaving off the decimal points. So not too bad. I'm basically, these came out about 20 gram force higher in most cases. In one case, a little bit less, but they're in the realm, right? They're in the 20, 30 gram force in the realm. Okay. So that's the S Pen. And I don't have the other S Pen numbers from 2 years ago because they're newer S Pens. Now let's try the CP913s. Let me do 2.3 first, okay? And take a look. If oops, I gotta drag these into the drag zone. They're really in the same place. And let me color these by pen model, right? So the yellow is what you want to, they actually, they end up in a higher, they're kind of okay in terms of maximum pressure generally, but they're very steep at the beginning. Remember, the steeper they are at the beginning, the more you need a pressure curve to fight their tendency to overreact. So you have to use pressure curves with these pens. You just really do. Now, what about the CP913? And this is the pen, that CP923 is the one that comes with the Wacom One 14, 13 touch, and 12. Okay, let me have 4 of these pens. The CP913 had the highest maximum pressure, right? So let me hide some of the S Pens for a second. And it'll be much easier to see. Right? So blue is the older CP913 pen. Again, don't pay attention to the IAF. Just look how they generally are a little bit better in terms of maximum pressure. They're all in the OK zone. Okay? The issue with these pens is the IAF here, right? So, and let's just take a look at the numbers and see how wrong I was. Okay? So I have to drag that away. And I have all the data here. So 009, I measured it 2 years ago as 285. So not bad. Again, I'm in the zone. Okay. 010, I measured 2 years ago as 219. In the zone still. 00. So what do we got next year? 11. Yeah. That was 267. In the zone still. Right. I'm feeling happy. And CP34 was 322. This is very close. CP37. So I know this isn't everyone's idea of entertainment, but we're chilling, right? We're chilling. 280. Bigger discrepancy there, about 50 gram force. 36 is 324. In the zone. And 35 is 265. Very close. Okay? What's my lesson here? So I'm going to keep the spreadsheet. It is publicly available. And one of the reasons I really wanted to share it was this is the research I've done. With all its errors and weirdnesses, this is what really happens, right? What I would love people to do is measure their pens, right? And we just need, I hope we could sort of, what's the word? When you have the crowd do things? Not crowdfunded, more like crowd, I don't know. But basically, I'd love it if we could share our measurements across pens and come to a community consensus on what's going on, okay? I will continue to measure my pens and for both IAF and maximum pressure and see what I get, okay? Because I need to get better at this, because ultimately so much of your pen experience, the pressure experience, really comes from the pen itself, okay? Okay, let's see. Let me see if there's any. Crowdsource, thank you, Hera, that's the word, right? Cube publishes his numbers. And that's been very useful. Now, he uses Open Tablet Driver, right? So there's different tests here. So these blue numbers were on a device that doesn't have what I believe to be artificially low IAF. So I need to test with a Wacom device that I believe induces higher IAF and see if my theory is right. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that is true. I think you'll be pressing down harder. But the only way I have to do this is to, go through this testing process. Peer review. Well, we definitely need peer review. Okay, so let me look at my show notes. There's much more I have to say about IAF in this session, but let me just check what people. We talked about the Wacom 114. Okay, so someone asked me, hey, it's great that you collect all these numbers. Can you just subjectively talk about the pens, okay? And I'm going to try to do that, but you have to keep in mind there's some differences, right? I think this, hopefully none of the other drivers. Now, should I do it in this stream? It might be a bit too much doing this stream because I'll have to just get so many tablets and research them, and we'll see. Maybe if I have the patience to do it. Let's see what else. I did have one more bit of news, which is I guess it's Apple related. I am getting the iPhone Pro Max, iPhone 17 Pro Max. I've never had an iPhone before, but I'm really excited. I'm getting the orange one. It should arrive in a couple of weeks. And the reason I'm getting that is I've been really using Macs more than Windows lately. I'm streaming from a Mac. You can see I have Apple AirPods Pro. I have a bunch of iPads. And so much of my ecosystem is now involving an Apple device. I'm looking forward to what it would be like if I am, the full stack of phone and tablet and PC are all macOS, right? Or Mac, Apple. So we'll see how that works for me. I've never had an iPhone before, so I'm really curious what the experience is going to be like. Let's see. What, Okay, let's do my subjective testing, and I believe, let me just check the Reddit to see who, I will do it. I will do subjective testing. Let me see if I can find the Reddit comment. Someone actually asked me to do this. Let me answer a quick question on the Reddit. Someone asked me about this. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing since it's all public, right? Can you remind me what I test. I have a couple of tests planned, and I couldn't remember. No. Which thing I was looking into for this case. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get, it's a little difficult with the S Pen, so I'm going to focus on, we'll start with the UDMR pens, and I'll start with getting sorry, let me back up. I'm going to try to get the Pro Pen 2, Pro Pen 3, the kind of Wacom things, and just try them and just see what happens, okay? And fortunately, I have Open Tablet Driver installed on this other machine here, so I don't need to swap drivers. But you have to keep in mind that Open Tablet Driver isn't doing anything to the pressure. So maybe in that case, I should actually just use the actual driver, since that's more of a normal, that's what you'd be experiencing. Okay, so give me a minute. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. And so I'm gonna do a quick subjective evaluation of a lot of pens, okay? So I'm gonna have to be getting tablets and pens back and forth a couple of times. And I'm gonna write it down, okay? So let me rename this sheet as, I'll just put it in the same spread, UDEMR. But this is, I'm gonna call it subjective testing, okay? Let me rename this sheet. Subjective, this is subjective IAF testing, okay? Subjective. And I'll do this quick, okay? So I'm just gonna try to formulate a quick opinion, okay? So what I'll do is, I know I have a lot of pens, I'm gonna test each one, but I'll do it quick. And I'm just gonna rank them as a group, okay? And so for example, I will say I'll put the pen here, and I'll put the tablet here, because that does matter, for the UDMR pens. And I'm gonna say, so what's my rating, okay? And I'll do some Wacom ones first, and then we'll do Huion and XP pen, okay? And I'll just tell you what I think. So here's my rating system. I'm going to rate them as low, meaning like I felt like they were super light, super low IAF, normal, or high. Okay? I'm not gonna pick up numbers, I'm just gonna give you a subjective feeling. So low, normal, high. Okay? So Pro Pen 3 should be in the low category. Okay? Now, I know it's gonna be boring if you just see me type in numbers, so let me see if I can give you a slightly more interesting view of what the heck is going on. Oh, okay. This focus on this thing is sometimes crazy. Okay, hang on. You want to see non-blurry hands, I'm sure. So let's find that app. Oh, let's see. I'll have to try Quick Share, Hera. I'll have to try that. Let's see. Sorry, I know you're seeing this camera control thing. Sometimes it switches the focus to manual. Okay, let me change around a little bit of the. Hold on. Where was the remote? Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see if this I got this correct. I want it up a little bit. This is just to give you something visual so you can see. Speaking of something visual, do you like my new pen holder design? Right, I have, and so you see it's red plastic. I 3D printed this, and I have, oh, you can't see it on this one, but on this smaller one, I actually use a label printer to give, so this says Wacom CP913. So some of these just have tape, but they're all color coded. So the Huion ones are in like a bluish color, XP Pen's in purple, and Sense Labs is in orange, and Wacom's all in red. So the tape on the pens is color coded with the holder. Makes it much easier for me to sort what's going on. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit maybe. Okay, so we're gonna just do a, okay. So my first pen is gonna be the Pro Pen 3. I've got a whole bunch of them with me. Hang on a second. I'm gonna add another column. So I'll brand, right? So this is gonna be Wacom Pro Pen 3. And the tablet is a PTK 470. Okay, so again, we're grouping a bunch of pencils, or sorry, a bunch of pens as one unit for subjective testing. And let me just go ahead and bold this column. Okay. So I'm just gonna quickly do it. You're not gonna be seeing anything too interesting except me making some really silly little strokes. But I should bring in my, where is it? Let me move this thing out of the way here. Where's my testing app? Let me close some of these windows. There's too many. Gitbook. Where's the testing app? I should add it to my bookmark bar to make it easier in the future. Okay, there's my tester. Okay. So let's see what happens. Maybe we'll discover that in truth, let me do this here. Okay. So here's I have a couple of ProPen 3s just floating around here. So I'm just going to do it real quick and we'll see what happens. Like in other words, and I'll hold it in a vertical position, and I'll try also maybe in a like 45-degree angle. I guess one of the tests sort of subjectively about low IAF is how hard it is to avoid making a stroke. Like if it's easy to avoid making a stroke, then it's a higher IAF, okay? So here's one of the ProPen 3s. When I'm holding it vertical, now don't worry about if it seems jumpy and stuff. That's kind of a natural consequence of what I'm doing here. So don't look at the quality of the stroke. Okay, that is, I would qualify that as low. That's definitely low. It's hard not to make a stroke with that one. And I'm holding it at a natural drawing angle, by the way. Yeah, I would say all these are low. Let's get a few more to test here for ProPen 3. So when I say low, I should be clear. I'm not saying it's less than 1 gram force or something. Only that a person would consider this low compared to other pens. Okay? All the ProPen 3s, as expected, are testing subjectively very low. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I'm going through like 12 of these pens here, ProPen 3s. Cube did not test the IAF for the ProPen 3. I'm not sure if he has a ProPen 3 to test. Okay, I will put all these, I think, as a group. To be honest, I felt like just a little bit of variance in how much I had to press, but all of these I think I'd consider low. So that's ProPen 3. Sorry, I have to put these back in the holder. Oh, jeez, what happened to my props? Okay, that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to test ProPen 2s. Now, just so we're totally clear on what's happening, I'm not going to test this one with the wooden grip. The reason for that is I deliberately dropped this like 20 times from my desk, and it has a metal nib, which increased the IF as far as I can tell. So it's kind of like unfair to test this one, okay? Because I've messed around with it, okay? So I'm going to exclude that from the test. Okay. Low. Again, don't worry about it skipping or the lines looking ugly. They'll naturally do that when you're drawing with super low pressure. It's expected. And I'm doing this with all the pens so that when I switch to Huion, I'll be better able to tell you like, oh, this is low or high or something. Yep, that's low. I'm barely having to make any effort to draw a stroke. It's kind of hard to avoid making a stroke. Yeah, Pro Pen 3, consistently low. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Don't quote me on this. In my brain, honestly, it almost felt like I had to press. It had even lower than the Pro Pen 3. Pro Pen 2 seemed to be actually a little more sensitive with the 6 I have. Purely subjective. They were both low, but my mind is telling me I had to press a little bit less hard with the Pro Pen 2. Could have been the nib feeling how the friction is translating. Don't know. But I've had that thought for a while, but I've never actually said that out loud. Okay? So I will go mark these as low. Right? This is a Wacom Pro Pen 3. And then, again, same tablet, 470. Both the Pro Pen 3 and 2s were low. And then I put the wrong number here, 2. Okay. Okay, now we're going to try the Wacom CP913. Again, subjective test. Let me clear all this mess here. Okay. It is obvious I have to press, like, remember I told you one subjective way of thinking about IAF is, you see in the top of my head, one of the subjective ways to think about IAF, some people say it's, will it draw with the weight of the pen? And I'll just put the pen here, and it doesn't, but I think that's actually a bad subjective evaluation because the pens are heavy and they generally draw with their own weight. Now this one isn't, or it is barely. In fact, I'm going to turn off the pressure scaling. Yeah, this is very high IF, right? Like, okay, so let me give you my subjective test. How hard is it to avoid drawing something? Like if it's very hard to avoid leaving a stroke, that's a low IF. On the other hand, if it's pretty easy to scrape and nothing's being drawn, it's high IAF. Another heuristic or subjective thing is noise. Now this depends on the tablet friction and the tablet surface, but I think about how much I can make noise on the tablet and nothing's happening, you know? And of course, different nib material, but my point is, like, it's very noticeable you're not drawing when you think you should, okay? This pen, and I've turned off the pressure sensitivity, so you won't see the strokes go up and down. They're just gonna be constantly 50. They don't need to be that darn big. Let's just make these 10. It is so easy for me to, like, I'm moving in a circle and dragging, and every now and then you'll see it draw a stroke, but it's so high, and I can hear it. I can hear the scraping on the tablet. So this is definitely high. This is definitely high. Okay, that was a CP913. High, but just a little bit less than the previous pen. Number 3. High and a little bit less than the first pen I did. I feel like this one was like the first pen, maybe a little bit, I had to press a little bit harder. So this I would call high IAF. It was very obvious I had to press, not hard, but just harder, okay? So I'm gonna mark these that way. Oh no, this is the CP913. Okay. And this was high. It was very clear high. And it's the IAF rating. Okay. Now we do the CP923. And I don't think we have any more comments. or asking me anything, so we'll just continue. Damn. I giggled there because when I started drawing, I had to press hard to get a stroke. For some strange reason, it seems like I don't have to press quite as hard as when I started. Maybe it was just the nib was stuck in a certain place. Okay, this one was not low. This is one of 3 CP923s. It wasn't as high as the CP913, but I don't know if I'd call it like normal. Okay, we'll try the other 2 now that I've tested it out. Let me do the first one again. I want to make sure I held it at a normal angle. Yeah. I'd call this on the low end of high. Okay, so I will still say it's still kind of high. But interesting, a little bit lower than I expected. And in fact, that matches up with those numbers I showed you earlier, where, take a look at the numbers again. The CP913 had a bit of a higher IAF than CP923, okay? At least in the pens I have. I'm not prepared to say they're normal, but right now I'm gonna leave them at, where's my subjective number thing here? I'm gonna leave them CP923, PTK 470. I'm gonna say these felt high, but like lowish. Does that make sense? Like it's on the low end. Maybe I should say it that way. On the low end. Low end of high. Okay. And then, okay, so that's those pens. I'm not going to do the S pens. Now I'm going to do the, I want to do the Huion PW600 pens, okay? So let me disconnect this tablet and let me go get a Huion tablet. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back now. And I have to change my setup a little bit here because I need to use a different computer for this. Because I'm using a Canvas 13 Gen 3 with the PW600 pens. And oh gosh, this is going to be a little confusing. How do I... Okay, it's going to take a little bit of a setup here, so we'll see what I can do. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me think here. How can I do this? Okay, let's see. I have Open Tablet driver installed, so I have to uninstall it and then figure all this out. So we'll do that. We'll do that. Just delays me a little bit. Let me turn on this MacBook. Okay, great. And let me uninstall Open Tablet driver. Yeah, I didn't anticipate how difficult it would be to do this test. So let's see. Open tablet driver. Move to trash, please. Oh, God darn it. Maybe a mouse will work better for me. There we go. Because it's, oh, okay, I have to close Open Tablet driver, of course. Now, just for the record, I have not upgraded this MacBook Pro to macOS 26. What do you mean it's open? Let's see if I can turn it off here. Quit. Now let's try. Okay, I'm hoping that uninstalled what needed to get uninstalled. And I'm installed the Huion driver, then we can test some of Huion tablets. I'm not going to install the Huion V20 driver because it's only compatible with a few devices. So I'm going to install the latest V15 driver. I know you can't see anything right now, just give me a minute. Canvas. Gen 3. macOS. No, I don't want the V20 driver. Yeah, V15. That was released back in July. Okay, it's installing, or it's about to be installed. And hopefully I've correctly uninstalled Open Tablet driver and the rest will just work. Let's try that again. Replace. Okay, and let's see if the Huion can be launched. Yeah, I'm sure I want to open it. Sure, allow to use Bluetooth. Won't help me right now. Okay, this needs to be connected to a different thing. Sorry, I know this is a little bit... Okay, let me get one more cable as well. Be back in a second. Okay. I just gotta redo some cabling here to make this all work. So please be patient. There we go. That thing is in. And let me just make sure I can get the device here. I'm not sure if you're seeing what I'm supposed to be seeing, so let's take a look here. Okay. That is, yeah, almost the right thing. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Okay. So give me a second. Let me just clean up a little and connect some more cables. And then we can test some Huion tablets. It's been a while since I've used the Canvas 13 Gen 3. So it's nice to get it out of the box and use it for a little bit to refresh my memory of how it works. Yes, allow accessory to connect. Yes, allow. Oh, you can't see anything quite yet. Don't worry, we'll straighten it all out. You're just, let's see if I can get this. Let me solve this thing first. I want displays. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off so you can just, you're not seeing stuff, empty screen. And I think I want these, yeah. I want this as the main. And I want this to mirror the Canvas 13. Okay, and then you should be able to see. Yes, okay, we're kind of mostly back in business. Sorry for the delay. Again, switching like this should be easier when I go to the XP Pen devices since I've got this computer set up now. Okay, what do? We're gonna launch my tester app again. And let me drag it over. Oh, I've got the displays kind of in the wrong orientations or the wrong. Let me arrange them. Done. Okay, now I should be able to drag it over correctly. There we go. We're almost. Whew, there we go. Okay. And now I need some pens, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got PW 600 pens. Notice I have blue tape on the pens and a blue pen holder. So I expect I'm going to be getting quite a few of these over the next year as more Huion tablets presumably release with the new pen. Okay, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. You got to figure out why nothing's happening. Is this the right pen? It is the PW600. Oh, I've got to set up the driver. Okay, hang on. Huion tablet needs access to accessibility. So turn that on. Okay. Let's see now if it works. Yep, it's just moving the pointer on the wrong screen. Needs access to record. Okay, sure. Open system settings. Yep. Quit and reopen, sure. And it's moving the pointer. Oh, wrong screen. Allow. Its permissions are so wild on macOS. On Windows, it's a more streamlined. Okay, pointer's in the right place. Everyone can see it. And it's kind of a slow drawing. I'm not sure if that's me or something else. Oh, I'm... Hang on. Something's funny here. The screen, the page is kind of jumping up. Maybe it's a Chrome update or something. Let's just relaunch. Or maybe I've sized it in a funny way. Let's get back here. Oh, I know what it is. Yeah, of course. As these things draw, the numbers get big, and so it causes the screen, the page to lay out funny. So how can I unzoom this? That's something I should have thought about. Okay. Okay. This was... This is very good. It's actually a little hard for me to make the difference between this and the Pro Pen 3, to be quite honest. So I'm trying to just make sure I can establish how hard I'm pressing. It is hard to avoid drawing, which is the first good test. So I would say this is low. It is low. It is low, right? I'm going to put it... Hera, we're on the Huion Canvas 13 Gen 3, and I'm testing the PW600 pens. Okay, so this is pen number 1, and it's very low. It's very obvious that it's low. Because it's hard not to draw. Like I have to take care to avoid... Okay, so that's very low. I would actually put it, you know, again, this one... The second pen is, again, honestly, it feels low. It feels low. Yeah, very, third pen, low. I would still say maybe slightly higher than the Pro Pen 3, but I have trouble telling the difference, to be completely honest. It's just a very slight difference to me, subjectively. And this is the, this is the 6th unit I have. Yeah, I'm gonna... Okay, so I'm going to mark this up as, hang on. I'm going to mark this one up as Huion. This was PW, I tried all the PW600s. You know, intellectually, they shouldn't be as low as the Pro Pen 3 or Pro Pen 2 because we Huion says their IAF is 2 gram force. But I'm just going to go by what it feels like, okay? And I'm going to put it in low. Huion. I'm going to say canvas, or sorry, K13 Gen G3, canvas 13 Gen 3. Okay, so and this was low. It was low. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Okay. Since I've got the Huion driver installed, let's try the Frago with the PW550 pens. Okay. And then we'll try the PW517s because those are the older style pens. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and now I have the PW550 in front of me, and I have, the Huion Frago in front of me, and a bunch of PW550 pens. And if you have a PW517 pen, I think it's statistically better for you to get a PW550 pen. So I generally recommend people try that before they upgrade tablets. Okay, so, oops, I'm gonna click a button here to allow this tablet to work. Okay, and let's just see, I'll let you see what I'm seeing. Not that, I want, not that. Oops. Am I not doing the right thing here? It's not switching correctly. Okay, there we go. Okay, this is definitely higher than the PW600s because it's kind of easy for me, with not too much effort. I am drawing, I'm pressing, I can feel it scraping, and it's much easier for me not to leave a stroke, okay? It's not super high, right? But it's definitely a little bit higher. I would call this typical, meaning 3 gram force kind of. If you're a Pro Pen 2 user and use this pen, I feel like you'd probably notice you're having to press a little bit harder, just a little bit, okay? So I'm gonna call this one typical. This is 1 of 4. Let's try the next one. Very similar. It's pretty easy for me to avoid making a stroke, right? Okay, so I would say let me draw a little bit more on this one. Definitely less force than the CP913, right? And then the next one. Yeah, more typical. The truth is I could draw with this pen fine. Like, I'm not super sensitive to IAF in terms of how it affects me. But again, if you came from a Pro Pen 2, you'd notice that it's missing the lightest part of the stroke, okay? So let's get back to my document here. And let me actually correct this. This is supposed to say CP923. And this was the Huion TW550s with the Frago medium. And I would say this was typical. So typical would mean basically your 3 gram force kind of pen, okay? Totally drawable, totally useful for drawing, okay? Now we'll get to PW517s, okay? So for that, I'll use an Intuos 2 medium. Let me unplug this, put this back in. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and Arfdale has a few comments. For real, using different tablets is troublesome for artists that have been accustomed to Wacom Pro Pen. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I need to make a video, I've been planning on one, about upgrading and why you have to be real careful upgrading to a different brand and a different pen, because I guess a lot of Wacom users they don't realize how good they have it with their pen, and you see it all the time. Someone gets, Huion, and And again, different people are sensitive about, meaning they have, not sensitive like hypersensitive, more like different people are able to distinguish between low IAF and high. Some are, they can detect it very easily, and then they switch to, you know, even a good Huion pen, they're like, oh, this is very different, right? So people have to be very careful upgrading, especially when you're coming from a Wacom. Okay, now we're gonna do the PW517 pen with the Huion Inspiroi 2L. Okay. And is that what? Not that, sorry, I think it's this. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. There we go, okay. Ooh, okay. Actually, before I do this, I'm always unpacking so many boxes that it creates a mess around me. So let me just pack the Frago back in its box. Otherwise, I'm gonna feel bad later on. Okay, the Frago is protected now. Fantastic. Okay, and what we want to do is move this keyboard out of the way. And Inspiroi, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in. Hopefully I don't have to configure the driver again. I do have to click allow, so let's click allow. Okay, and then this is the PW517s, right? I believe that's what's compatible with this. Yeah, okay. Let's clear, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of these pens. So, this felt in the typical zone, a little bit higher than the PW550, but this is just one of the pens. We got 5 more to go. Again, we're not looking at the quality of the stroke, just if this felt typical as well, honestly. Typical. You can see some of that pressure wobble there, right? And that is, I'll just talk about it one more time. If you ever see that happen, it's kind of a consequence of the specific tablet and some other factors, and you can actually just reduce that just by doing a little bit of pressure smoothing and adding a little bit of a pressure curve, and you'll get much smoother strokes. This tablet seems more prone to this than other tablets. But it's all fixable. It's all fixable. Let me reset everything. I just wanted you to be aware that if you ever see that happen, looks like I've got a bug in my thing. The reset advanced doesn't do anything. Let me reload the page then. Yeah, this is typical. And another PW517. Pretty typical for the industry. Typical. And again, typical means, you know, like 3 gram force, I would guess. I'm guessing. Yeah, these were just very typical pens. Let me put these back now. Wasn't bad at all. You know, it honestly, I expected worse with these. So let me note what I found here. fix this. There's an extra space there. Okay. This was Huion PW517 with the Inspiroi 2L. And I actually found it typical. Not bad at all, right? Again, I find the max pressure is all over the place with PW517, but the IAF, which is what we're looking at, was typical. Okay, now, should I do... Let me think. Let me do one more Huion pen, which is an older model, just so I can see if they've improved. And I just want to have some frame of reference about how the past was versus the present. So I'll be right back. I'm going to test with the HS611. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with the HS611, which is an ancient tablet as far as Huion goes. But you know, things have really changed since this came out. But what's really funny is it actually has some cool features, like media control buttons, and it's big. But the pen definitely shows its age. But I haven't tried it in so long. I just can't remember what I really thought of it. So this is going to be a good little test. Okay, let's get this thing back in its box. The Inspiroi. Is that it? Inspiroi 2, yeah. Let's make sure this is the right thing. Inspiroi 2, great. There's nothing like ending a stream and I have like 50 of these boxes. I just can't even remember which tablet goes in which. Okay, plug in the Inspiroi 2, or sorry, HS611. And this driver should still work with it. We'll see. Let me double check. It didn't prompt me for anything, so it's not detecting the tablet actually. Let's try. I thought I saw it just kind of flash the light a second. I may have to use a different cable for this. You know how it is. Sometimes these things just don't connect. The driver just says it can't. Where's that darn thing? The driver just. Oh, it detected it. Okay, somehow it took a second. Sometimes that happens. Okay, now I really can't remember which pen this is compatible with, but it's one of the 500 series. I believe it's this one, which is a PW500. Okay, I have two of these, so I don't have too many. Okay, let's clear it and let's just see. Theoretically, I should notice higher IAF. I'm going to turn off the pressure thing. So you just see, it's pretty easy to see when the stroke is happening. You know, surprisingly, it's not bad. It's not bad. Do I have another PW500? I should. Here's another one. I would say I definitely notice the stroke begin just a little bit later than I expect. Yeah, so I'm going to put this kind of similar to the CP923, which is on the low end of high. Okay? And let's see. So this was a good test, actually. Again, all subjective. PW500 with the HS611. I'll call this on the low end of high. Let me test the other 500 series I have just to make sure they might. I wonder if they work or not. No, it's just they have a PW507, but only the 500s work with this tablet. Okay, so at least it's some data. Okay, now we're going to switch to XP Pen. So let me put this back in its box. And we'll try the X3 Pro, we're going to try the X3 Elite, and we're going to try the P05. And we'll see what happens. Oh, there's no box for this one. I lost the box years ago. Okay, I'll be back with XP Pens. Okay, I'm back, and now we're going to do the, what is this? I gotta read the title here. Deco LW. Deco LW, and the pen it uses is the X3 Elite. X3 Elite. So let's check it out. For this one, I need to install the XP Pen driver again, so give me a moment. XP Pen driver. Hopefully it won't conflict with the Huion driver. Usually on macOS, these things, for me, I found that they don't conflict. Oh, XP Pen's listing the Artist Ultra 16 now. Here, maybe I'll take a look at that, actually, once I'm done with this testing. Because before we just had a blog. Now they seem to have maybe some specs there. Okay, what do I want? I want the drivers. Drivers download. Oh. I'll just go ahead and do the Artist Pro. These should all work. Doesn't really matter. I'm thinking. So DMG, double click. And I'll just double click again. Continue, continue, continue. Password. There we go. And I'll keep that. Okay, and let's just plug in the tablet. I'm sure it's going to ask me to do some security stuff, so let's see. Where's the slot? Okay, there's the port. Okay, and now we need to find the XP Pen. I hope this is it. Yeah, sure. Oh, finally, the app is now called XP Pen Tablet. It used to just be called XP Pen, which is a really big irritation. Allow. Receive keystrokes. Sure. Quit and reopen. Accessibility. Where is it? XP Pen. Oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, I may need to restart the app. So let's try that again. Quit. Okay, let's see if that works now. Oh, open system settings. Oh, I may need to, oh yeah, I remember. Let me remove both these again. I remember I learned this lesson from Cube. Sometimes with the macOS you have to add the thing back. Oh, I can't click anymore. It's like frozen or something. Oh, here we go. Let's quit. Now we start it again. XP Pen driver, quit and reopen. Okay, so let's go ahead and just quit it. Sorry, this is always such a pain. Let's try now. Accessibility features. I don't want to have to deal with this problem again. Oh, this is input monitoring. Accessibility. Okay, yeah. Let me close XP Pen. Remove it from accessibility, whatever the hell it is. XP Pen tablet, open system settings. Why can't I see it there anymore? That's so crazy. Okay. Sorry for the delay here, folks. There it is now. Okay, I think I got that. Oops, clicked on the wrong thing. This is why I hate installing drivers. I'm gonna lose my mind. Quit the driver. I'm gonna try to see if it just works now. Maybe I don't need that accessibility thing. Well, I guess I do. Because it's not detecting. Oh no, this uses the X3 Elite. That's why. Okay. If this works good, yeah, okay. I think I got this. It's actually working well enough. Good, because I was getting tired of that error message. Okay. This is the, which pen is this? X3 Elite. That was what I'd call typical, actually. Typical, maybe slightly higher. This one's slightly higher still, honestly. Yeah, on average, I'd call these typical. So let me write these down. Give me a second. XP Pen, X3 Elite. X3 Elite. And this was with the Deco LW. And I would call this typical. Maybe slightly high, but I'll just call it typical for now. Just rough approximation. Okay, so that did work. And we only have 2 more pens to test, and then we can... I'm going to do the P05, because it's the pen that comes with the Deco 01 V3 and V2. They use the same pen. So let's unbox this, pull this out. What am I holding that for? Okay. Almost there. Great. Whatever. I'll try this one more time just to see if it'll act. I'm not going to touch that anymore. I'll figure that out when I have patience to do it. Okay. Let's see. Plug it in here. Okay, did it detect it? Deco 01V. Okay, it does. Yeah. Okay. Let's get this clear. This is the P05 pen. I would call this high. You see how there's gaps? That's because it's too easy for me to get right under the IAF. Or yeah, this is high. That's one. I have 3 more to test. High. This is high. Not crazy high. But I think I would say this felt, in some sense, similar to the CP9 1.3 or 2.3. You can tell by the line breaks. This one's actually still a little bit better. Yeah, okay, I'll call this maybe mid-high. Like not on the low end, but not like crazy. Oops, I'm putting these in the wrong place. Okay, so I'll call these high. XP pen, that was the P05. Not crazy high, just high. Deco 01 V3. High. I'll just put in parentheses, not crazy high. Right. Oh, but you'll notice it. You'll notice it. Okay, now we're left with the final one, which is a Deco Pro with the X3 Pro pens. And I have a lot of those. I have a lot of those. Okay, let's get this. And I'll put it in its box. And this will be our final pen testing of the night, though I may still stay online to stream a bit more. Okay, now this is the, which one is this? Deco Pro Gen 2 Medium. What's funny is it doesn't have the name of the tablet on here. It's so odd. It has the model number, just not the name. I mean, I know what it is. But I just never noticed the name was not literally written on it. Okay. I have quite a few of these X3 Pro pens, so this won't take too long. Allow the success rate to connect. Yes, 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 yes. And there's a, yeah, okay. I'm not losing the stroke. I lost it there a little bit, there. Okay, I would call this typical, this one unit. Let's try it again with another unit. Yeah, you see how I'm losing the stroke? And I'm feeling, yeah, this is typical. So 2 of them are basically typical. Typical. Actually slightly high, in fact, because I'm losing it more often than I'd expect. I wasn't losing them this much with the Huion PW550. So this almost seems like on the high end of typical. Again, there are variances between specific units. Okay, we got just 4 more to go, or 5 more to go. typical. 3 more. I'll call these typical, slightly on the high end. Okay, so let's go back to, I think it's this. Yeah. Oh, you don't need to see hands. Oh. There we go. Not that, this. Okay. So, what would I say here? This is XP Pen. X3 Pro, and I tested it with a Deco Pro Gen 2 medium, and I would say it's typical, slightly on higher end. Right. So maybe I'll redo this test because, you know, my sense of what's low-high maybe evolved as I was doing the test. But there are a couple of surprises here for me. Number one, the PW550 did better than I expected, actually. And so did the PW517. Again, we're only considering IAF here. The Decos, the X3 Elite did better than I thought, actually. Because it's typical and it's good. It was fine. It's interesting that I felt like the Deco Pro, the X3 Pro pen, required just a little bit more force. I lost the stroke a little bit more. Again, I need to retry these, but this is my initial take on, you know, high, low, etc. Basically, another thing, not a surprise, but the Wacom consumer pens are definitely high. I think it's clear. The HS611, the PW500 pen, also a little bit high, but not crazy. Again, if you're coming from a Pro pen background, then you'll notice it, right? What's Sarah say? These tests are not helping my PenTech 4.0 fear of missing out. Well, pretty soon we're going to see, I hope we're going to see a lot of PenTech 4.0 tablets coming from Huion. We know we have that 24-inch coming. And I hope that's a signal we'll get a lot more. I want to see some pen tablets with it. Because, and again, I think, we'll pick on Cube for a second. He's very sensitive to IAF. Like, actually, let me show you something. He had some feedback on a rating scale. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Well, okay, let me just put it like this way. My rating scale says for IAF that excellent is less than 1 gram force, and like good is 1 to 2, and then okay is like, or very good is 1 to 2, and good is 2 to 3, and 3. You know, for him, it's like everything after 2 gram force is awful, right? So he might look at this scale and say, well, there's a, I would guess he would rank more things as high, right? Or bad or whatever, because he's more sensitive. I am not, I've always said I'm not the most sensitive to IAF compared to some people. But at least, you know, this is what, at least this gives me some basis of like comparison. So when people ask me what was your experience like between the pens, I can kind of say this is what I generally thought, right? But pickier people might have, you know, a higher bar for IAF than I do. But at least it's a starting point. It's a starting point. Again, I'm really surprised how well Huion's pens did in this. They're PW517, 550, and of course the PW600. I thought the PW517 would not do that great, but it actually did fine. It did fine. And again, it just goes to show the PW600 is just a great pen. It's just a great pen. So this was useful. I'll write this up and sort of, maybe I'll do a special video on it and just talk again about IAF and subjectively what I thought. Okay, let me take a look at my show notes, see if there's anything else I want to talk about. We did all the testing. I talked about macOS 26. Wacom One 14 we talked about. Oh, there is one more item I actually have here to talk about. And let me bring it up. 1 second. I'm going to bring it up with my laptop. Be a little easier. Show notes. Yeah, Rain. Here, I'll show them to you. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to take care of something, and then we'll look at the specs. Okay. What did I want to show? I just wanted to show this one item, which is going to not take long. But apparently, this is a minor, item, but apparently Microsoft Paint is going to get. It's not going to open and load and save PSD files, but apparently they're going to introduce their own sort of structured format that presumably lets you store like layers and things and a collection of pieces in different layers. So that's interesting. Surprised that they would do that, right? Their own kind of file format. And so the extension will be .paint. And they'll be adding some other tools like opacity sliders. So it's interesting that Microsoft Paint's actually getting a little bit of a boost. I mean, I wouldn't expect it because I would have just guessed that they're leaving that alone. But no, that's really nice. I like to see that the operating system comes with some more enhancements to make it easier to deal with some very common scenarios with images. So that's good. Okay, having said that, let's take a look at those specs. Let's take a look at the specs. Or whatever they have printed. They have the user manual, I think. XP Pen. So what I found was the manual and quick guide download. So this is what I found. Actually, let's see if the specs are listed. Okay? First, drawing display. Do they list the Ultra? I don't see the Ultra listed there, but let's do it. Let me close these little things here. Yeah, on Android, I don't think they're ever going to do that. Ultra. Okay, looks like what they do have is a document. So maybe that reveals more to us. Okay, that's what we're going to take a look at. We don't know what it's going to say, but this is what I noticed when I was just like, that's not clickable, but this is. Okay, what do they got? What do they got? So it looks like they're still going with bigger bezels. I think we knew that. They definitely are explicit. It's RF Dale has got a comment here. Did Microsoft just notice that they have an R program because they want to push their AI generation? It wouldn't surprise me, RF Dale. I think you've hit upon something there. Because the AI generation is often used for the modification or editing or creation of images, the users will be in a position where they'll need to do things with the images. So for example, the AI gen still has problems maybe with text, like they need to fix it. Or sometimes it draws, sixth finger. I know they've solved that, I think, mostly. But the things have minor issues. And so you'd probably need some extra tools to just correct the AI. And I suspect it's very reasonable. That's the reason that they're saying, hey, our users are getting exposed to AI images that are generated from AI, and they are having to go and load other things just to deal with the images. right? So they're adding little new improvements like this. So doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. I hadn't thought about it. So that's the way you put it really sort of put it in my head. That was thank you. Okay, where are we at here? So they're definitely clear it's OLED. Like there's no doubt. It is an OLED device. Because there was some question on Reddit whether it was a true OLED or not. And they're very clear that it is. Okay. Product overview. Okay, so we have 2 USB-C ports, touch. Okay, so they're good. There's a physical switch to deal with touch. Power button. It looks like there's also, you can change the brightness, right? That's good. You don't need to go open the OSD to do it. Now, we can just see from the picture, there's no VESA mounting, right? So they say something interesting here, which is marked adhesive area for stand mounting. Adhesive area, I'm surprised. I have to think about that. Okay, Hera, thanks for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure having you on stream. And look forward to the next time you can join us, okay? Have a great day. Let's see, what else can we learn here? List of accessories. What do you get? Yeah, or... No, sorry, I'm not sure if this is what you get in the box or just compatible things. Clearly, it's compatible with the X3 Pro. Okay, it looks like this is what's in the box. You get a shortcut remote. USB-C, this is for the display. This looks to be maybe for data or power. Oh no, there's a special power adapter, okay. You get gloves. I know, I think that's right, RFDL. I think the reason we don't see VESA on 16-inch and below is just the thinness, and it makes sense, I guess. But they're not that thin. They're not like moving thin, right? So I'm surprised we don't see that. Portable stand. So, oh yeah, they really are talking about adhesive here. Okay, what? Hang on. Peel off the adhesive film off the back of the tablet. Align with marked adhesive area on the back of the drawing display. Then gently. So, and the stand feature. So you get legs on it with it like glue adhesive. That's wild. Never seen that before. Never seen that before. Right? So that's the RF deal says some portable monitors can put VESA mount, so it's weird not to. Yeah, it's getting at the size you kind of want VESA mount. Now this is an unusual. So you use adhesive to get the legs on. Very strange. I'm not complaining. Not complaining. It just I've never seen that. Okay, it supports, what are we getting here? Of course, if your computer supply has the right kind of USB-C port and enough power, this will work. If you need power, you can use a separate adapter. And also, you can use this, I didn't see the accessories, that's part, if it's in the thing, the list. Let's take a look. I don't see, that's like a 3-in-1 type cable. I don't see that it's listed. Oh, no, it is. 3-in-1 cable. You do get a 3-in-1 cable. Let's see. So these are the 3 options you have for connecting it. Okay, makes sense. It gives you a good set of options here too. Let's see. Android phone and Android tablet connection. Again, you'll certainly need power for Android, and I'll have to do more testing on how Android tablets work with these pen displays. I don't normally recommend people try tablets with Android. I don't think it's a great experience, to be honest. But I haven't tested a lot of pen displays. Here's the remote. Nothing too surprising about the remote. Same standard remote. Driver. Any other things we can see? Oh, all the MacOS instructions for security. Nothing too unusual. It comes with 2 pens, X3 Pro and X3 Pro Slim. Oh yeah, I forgot it has touch. I forgot it has touch. Multi-finger, I suppose it's 10-finger touch. And again, there's a switch for touch, so that's very nice. I think it's super important to be able to disable and enable touch without opening the driver or opening the OSD. Just quickly do it. Oh, this is interesting. The product supports 3 touch area modes, including default, basic, and custom. Default, the entire display area is touch enabled. Okay. Basic, touch input is only enabled for the floating menu on the display. No single. Okay, that's very useful. I know it may seem like a trivial thing, but that's super useful because sometimes you want to like change the settings, and it's just easier when the OSD comes up to just touch it because there are buttons physically there, right? So I love that. And custom, touch input is enabled only outside the custom area. No single or multi is recognized in the custom area. I'm not sure how to interpret this. It sounds like you can define a custom area and then, this is weird the way that it's expressed. Touch is enabled only outside the custom area, meaning you select the area you don't want touch to be active. Okay, let me, this could mean, for example, you could turn off touch where your wrist is going to touch the tablet a lot and leave it on, I guess, in the rest of the tablet to help avoid your wrist. Okay, interesting. Look, I'm always happy people are trying things. Their gestures, okay. Again, these kind of gesture stuff typically works really good on Windows, not as well on macOS, because Windows has been geared to work with touch for over a decade. And here are some of them. Yeah, you can just see it right here, right? On macOS, like long press isn't supported. Oh, on Windows, some things aren't supported. Interesting. Weird. You can bring up a menu with a floating menu with touch. I wonder if are they adding in their driver more of a menu system like Wacom has and Huion has added in their V20 drivers. Okay, oh, here's the floating menu. Okay, they are, okay. The floating menu can display floating menu shortcut keys on the drawing display. You can set common operations. So everyone seems to be adding this now. This is good. This is good. Wacom has a very advanced, I mean, it's kind of complicated. Huion's is pretty, not quite as, like, I think not quite as, like, complex. But it's good. I like that they have that. And that, by the way, I think they said in the custom, so not in the custom, but in the touch. Let me go back there. The touch on basic, touch inputs enabled only for the, okay, this is excellent. This is even better than I thought. So they weren't talking about the OSD here, they were talking about the floating menu. I thought they meant OSD, I didn't understand. So that is excellent. That's something Wacom should do with the MoveInk, where you can bring up the menu and then interact with the menu in touch. That's super, super useful. I like that. I like that. And it doesn't interfere with drawing. Very good idea. I think the MoveInk doesn't do it that way. I had to double check because I remember I was like, no, I'll double check the MoveInk. Either they do it or they don't. In my head, they didn't do it this way. Or at least you can't configure it. Touch. Oh, okay, there's these 3 options they mentioned. Touch. Oh yeah, in the custom, you can actually set the area, the upper left corner, I guess, and then touch will be disabled inside that area. Might be great for avoiding accidental touch input. It looks like they've really put some thought into this, honestly. All over the place, like they added touch, they're adding special features for touch, they're adding this new floating menu system, so they put in some work. That seems very clear. And here's some of the floating menu. So rectangular sort of collections. Doesn't look like they have rings. I think Huion has a ring one. Wacom has a ring as well. Circular menu. And you can do per app. Okay, you can start an application with it. Okay, cool. You can switch monitors, very useful. Screen keyboard, okay, very useful to bring up the screen keyboard. That would mean that maybe if you have touch enabled, it's pretty easy for you, like if you have to save a file, it would be easy for you to start typing because you don't have to get your keyboard around because touch will bring up the screen keyboard. That's very thoughtful and very useful. Because you want to keep your hands drawing and not having to, like, you know, put things in front of you between you and the display. So I like it. I like it. Again, very thoughtful. Work area. Okay, standard stuff on work area. Nothing too surprising. Pretty much the same stuff we always see with the stylus. Nothing's changed here. Pressure curve, button configuration. Or at least nothing obvious has changed. Let's see, there's a diagnostic tool. Okay. And do they have, I forgot, they do have Linux drivers, right? Okay, they mention it here. Okay, this is, you know, it's actually quite interesting. I'm not planning on getting this tablet, and the reason's pretty simple. It's the same pen, and remember, the pen is so important for the experience. I think basically between Tio on Tech and Brad and Ryan, if he's gonna test it out, you'll get a good idea of how well this works, right? But I think it's exciting. I think it's very exciting. Some of the changes we're seeing here. Okay. Okay, I think we covered every topic that I wanted to cover in this stream. How long did we go? I'm gonna take a look here. Yeah, just shy of 3 hours. Okay. Well, everyone, this was a fun session. We did some crazy amount of subjective measurements and talked a lot about Wacom 114, etc. I will be, I'm sure, streaming again soon. Again, I just want to thank everyone who shows up for these streams. I love how engaged you are, and you really make the streams and my work much better as you ask me questions and share your experiences. And with that, I'm going to end the stream, everyone. Have a great night.